Welcome, weary traveler. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and prepare to drift back to a time of strange destinies and even stranger soup. In this story, you will accidentally insult a powerful king, be forced into a legally binding marriage with a goat, and somehow end up being worshipped as a saint, all because you were looking for a decent nap. But don't worry, you're safe here. This is just a slow, strange, and oddly cozy journey through the parts of history no one talks about. If you enjoy stories that are weird, slow, and perfect to fall asleep to, support what we do by leaving a like and a comment. It really helps us keep creating these peaceful, ridiculous adventures. And if you never want to miss another sleepy tale, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, like it's the town crier on Mead. Now, let your mind drift into the past, where a good nap could lead to a crown, a curse, or a very confusing marriage. Enjoy the story and dream of times long gone. You awaken to the gentle poking of a curious chicken. It pecks at your cheek once, twice, with the patient rhythm of a creature who has seen many strange men sleep in ditches. It is not judging you, merely investigating. It tilts its head, its small dark eye a bead of pure, uncomplicated inquiry. You feel an odd sense of camaraderie with the bird. You, too, are often filled with a sense of gentle confusion about the world. You are indeed in a ditch. It's a familiar embrace. The mud is cool and surprisingly soft, molded to the shape of your back like a custom-made bed. It smells of wet earth, the ghosts of last night's rain, faint regret, and something vaguely like beets. You open one eye. The world is a blurry smear of green and gray, a watercolor painting left out in a storm. The sky above is the color of dishwater, but a few stubborn sunbeams are fighting their way through, dappling the leaves of an overhanging willow tree. You sit up slowly, a process that involves several distinct, unsettling noises. Your back makes a sound like a bag of walnuts being stepped on by a sad giant. Your neck cracks with the sharp report of a dry twig snapping. The chicken squawks, deeply offended by the symphony of your spine, and flutters away to judge you from a safer distance, behind a clump of suspicious-looking weeds. You look down at yourself. Your pants are surprisingly present. This is a small but significant victory, a sign that perhaps the universe has not entirely abandoned you to the whims of fate and laundry thieves. Your robe, however, is another story. It is damp, heavy, and smells like it has lost a prolonged and heartfelt argument with a puddle. Leaves and twigs cling to it like tired, muddy jewels. In your hand, clenched so tight your knuckles are white, is something heavy. You hadn't even realized you were holding it. You uncurl your fingers, one by one. A single coin rests in your palm. It is black as a moonless night, made of a metal you don't recognize. Something that seems to drink the light around it. It is not cold. It is not warm. It is the temperature of a secret. And it hums, a low, mournful tune that vibrates not just in your hand, but in your bones. A sad little song that seems to know your name. You have no memory of this coin, no idea where it came from. You try to trace your steps back through the fog of your memory, but all you find are fragments. A man with a feather in his hat, a riddle about soup that had no answer, and a promise whispered in a tavern corner about an object that would show you the truth. Or was it lose your shoes? The details are hazy. You decide to name the coin Kevin. It seems like a sensible, solid name for such a mysterious and possibly cursed object. You tuck Kevin into a pocket in your damp robe and struggle to your feet. The world sways for a moment, a slow, gentle rocking, as if you are standing on the deck of a very lazy ship. Your hat, a familiar and steadfast friend, sits on your head, slightly askew. It gives a soft, sleepy buzz, as if it, too, had a long and confusing night. You pat it reassuringly. It is good to have company, even if that company is a piece of felt with its own opinions and a faint electrical personality. You climb out of the ditch, your boots making a soft, squelching sound as they leave the mud. The road ahead is muddy and uninviting, disappearing into a gray mist. You have no destination, no plan, only a humming coin, a buzzing hat, and the quiet, persistent feeling that you are late for something you don't remember agreeing to. You take a breath of the cool morning air. It smells of damp leaves and new beginnings. You begin to walk. You wander into a village that smells of dread and wet wool. The houses are small and hunched, leaning against each other for support like old friends sharing a sad story. Smoke curls from the chimneys in thin, nervous wisps, as if afraid to draw attention to itself. The villagers move with a quiet, shuffling purpose, their eyes fixed on the muddy ground before them. No one makes eye contact. A goat watches you from a thatched rooftop, its expression unreadable but vaguely judgmental. This is a village that has learned to expect the worst and is rarely disappointed. As you enter the small cobbled square, a hush falls. It's not a peaceful hush, it's a tense one, the kind of silence that holds its breath. The shuffling stops. Heads turn slowly, cautiously. Eyes, when they finally lift to meet yours, are wide, with a mixture of fear and weary resignation. They are not looking at you precisely. They are looking at your hand, which you have, for some reason you don't quite understand, placed protectively over the pocket containing Kevin the humming coin. A woman carrying a basket of laundry drops it with a soft thud. A man hauling a bucket of water freezes mid-step, water sloshing over the rim onto his boots. He doesn't seem to notice. An old man with a beard like a tangled root system, who had been whittling a piece of wood, slowly puts down his knife. He approaches you, his steps slow and deliberate, his back creaking in protest with every move. He stops a few feet away and bows, a deep, formal gesture that seems to cause him physical pain. We were not expecting you so soon, sir, he says, his voice a dry, papery whisper, like dead leaves skittering across stone. You blink. The world is still a little fuzzy at the edges from your ditch nap. I'm sorry? You ask, your own voice sounding loud and out of place in the heavy silence. The old man flinches as if you had shouted. He gestures, his hand trembling slightly, toward the pocket where the ominous shape of Kevin is visible through the damp fabric of your robe. The mark of the treasury. He stammers, his eyes wide with a fear you don't understand. We know what it means. You do not. You have no idea what it means. But you look down at your pocket, then back at the old man, and you nod slowly, with a solemnity you don't feel. It just seems like the right thing to do. In your experience, denying things rarely makes them simpler. A murmur ripples through the square, spreading like a cold draft from one villager to the next. It's him. A tax collector. He looks sadder than last year's, and damper. Before you can formulate a protest, before you can explain that you are just a man who is very good at finding ditches to sleep in, the villagers begin to approach. They move with the slow, reluctant shuffle of people marching to their doom. One by one, they present you with tribute, their offerings a testament to their poverty and their fear. A woman with tired, hollow eyes offers you a loaf of bread so hard and dark it could be used as a doorstop, or perhaps a weapon. A small, solemn child with dirt on his cheeks hands you a single, weeping carrot, its green top wilted with despair. A man with a patchy beard gives you a small leather pouch filled with what you hope are beans, which feel suspiciously like rocks. You accept it all. You accept the bread, the carrot, the rock beans. You accept them with the quiet, dignified gravity of someone who is very, very hungry. You nod at each villager, your expression a carefully constructed mask of official melancholy. You have, by complete and utter accident, collected taxes. You find a nearby crate to sit on and inspect your earnings. The bread is, as suspected, stale. The carrot is limp and looks like it has given up on life. The beans are, in fact, rocks. Small, gray, disappointing rocks. You sigh. A long, weary sigh that seems to fit your new role perfectly. It is hard work, being a tax collector. Very hard work indeed. As you sit on the crate, contemplating your new career path and your collection of inedible taxes, a woman with kind, tired eyes approaches you. She is carrying a small wooden bowl filled with a thin gray liquid. It might be soup. A single, lonely-looking piece of potato floats in the center like a tiny, starchy island in a sea of sorrow. "A portion for the collector," she says softly, her voice barely a whisper. She does not meet your eyes. She simply places the bowl in your hands and backs away, as if you are a wild animal that might be spooked by sudden movements. You accept it gratefully. You find a quiet spot by the village well, away from the fearful gazes of the villagers, and begin to eat. The soup tastes of cabbage, rainwater, and quiet resignation. It is, without a doubt, the saddest soup you have ever tasted. It has no flavor, only a mood, but it is warm, and for that you are thankful. The warmth spreads through your chest, a small comfort in a confusing world. You eat slowly, savoring the meager warmth. As your spoon reaches the bottom of the bowl, it clinks against something hard that is not the potato island. Curious, you fish it out. It is another spoon. It is wooden, ancient, and covered in the ghosts of 1,000 similar soups. It is dented and worn, with a small, almost imperceptible face carved into the handle. As you hold it up to the pale sunlight, it whispers, a tiny, scratchy voice, like dry leaves skittering across stone, emanates from the spoon. "That was a terrible soup," it says. You nearly drop it. Your heart does a little flip-flop in your chest. You stare at the spoon, then look around to see if anyone else heard. The villagers are keeping their distance, pretending not to watch you. You are alone with your talking utensil. Of course, why wouldn't the spoon talk? In a world where you wake up in ditches and accidentally become a tax collector, a chatty piece of cutlery seems almost logical. "My name is Bartholomew," the spoon continues, its voice gaining a strange, creaky confidence. "I have been trapped in that family's soup bowl for 3 generations. The things I have seen, mostly potatoes, and the occasional very sad leak." You stare at the spoon in your hand, your hat perched on your head, gives a low, cautionary hum as if to say, "I don't trust him." The spoon says, its little carved face seeming to peer at you intently. You have a chaotic aura, a delightful energy of pure, unadulterated confusion. I like it. You place Bartholomew carefully on the stone edge of the well. He wobbles for a moment, then steadies himself. He continues to talk, a ceaseless stream of observations and suggestions. All of his advice is terrible. Profoundly, impressively terrible. "You should juggle those tax vegetables," he suggests, gesturing with the tip of his handle toward the weeping carrot and the rock beans. "It would inspire civic pride and distract them from their crushing poverty." You do not. "You should sing a song about the existential sadness of that goat on the roof," he whispers conspiratorially. "It would be very moving. A true work of art." You do not. Bartholomew is a cursed utensil. You are certain of it. He is a tiny wooden agent of chaos. You sigh, pick him up, and tuck him into a pocket in your robe, next to the weeping carrot. Perhaps he will be quiet if he is in the dark. He is not. He continues to whisper from your pocket, commenting on the quality of the masonry, the emotional state of a passing pigeon, and the questionable fashion choices of a woman across the square. You have a new companion, a cursed, opinionated wooden spoon. The day is getting stranger by the minute. The village elder, the one with the beard like a tangled root system, approaches you again. He is wringing his hands, a gesture that seems to be his primary mode of communication. His face is a mask of deep agricultural despair. "Oh, great tax collector," he begins, his voice trembling. "We have a problem, a terrible, furry problem." He explains that the village of Grumbleton is being terrorized, not by bandits, not by plague, but by a very large, very grumpy badger who lives in the nearby woods. This is no ordinary badger. This is a badger of unusual size and formidable grumpiness. It steals their cabbages with brazen impunity. It digs holes in their paths, creating ankle-twisting hazards for the unwary. It glares at their children with an expression of profound and withering disapproval. As the king's representative, which you are most certainly not, the villagers expect you to deal with this menace. They look at you with a mixture of hope and fear, as if they believe you might solve their problem by either smiting the badger with holy fire or by taxing it into submission. You try to explain that your expertise lies more in the field of unintentional napping than in badger management, but your protests are lost in the wind. You are led to the edge of the woods, a reluctant champion. The villagers follow at a safe distance, a small, nervous army holding makeshift weapons. Brooms, rakes, a pitchfork, and a particularly aggressive-looking loaf of bread. You are armed with a weeping carrot, a buzzing hat, and a whispering spoon. You feel deeply, profoundly underprepared for what is to come. You take a deep breath and step into the woods. The air is cool and smells of damp earth, pine needles, and badger-related fury. The trees are tall and cast long, spooky shadows. You find the badger's lair easily. It is a large, dark hole under the roots of an ancient oak tree. Piles of half-eaten cabbages are scattered about like the casualties of a brutal, leafy war. The badger emerges. It is, as promised, very large. Its fur is a mixture of silver and black. Its claws are long and sharp, and its eyes are small, beady, and filled with an ancient, simmering rage. It snarls, a low, guttural sound that seems to shake the very ground beneath your feet, showing teeth that have known many, many cabbages. It lowers its head and prepares to charge. This is it. The end. Your strange, rambling journey is about to conclude in a flurry of fur and fury. You will be defeated by a grumpy badger. Your epitaph will read, "He came, he saw, he was mauled by a mustelid. Then, from the depths of your robe, Bartholomew the spoon whispers, his voice filled with a strange, tactical excitement. Tell him his fur looks uninspired. It is the single worst piece of advice you have ever heard in your entire life. It is so stunningly, breathtakingly terrible that you flinch. In your shock, your hand slips. Bartholomew, the cursed spoon, tumbles from your robe, falling through the air in a slow, dramatic arc. It lands on a nearby stone with a loud, sharp clatter. The sound echoes through the quiet woods like a thunderclap. The badger freezes mid-snarl. It stares at the spoon, its beady eyes wide with confusion. Then it stares at you, its ferocious expression melting away, replaced by one of pure, unadulterated terror. With a high-pitched squeal of fright, it turns and runs, a furry blur of panic, disappearing into the deepest, darkest part of the woods. Silence. A single leaf falls from a tree. Then, from behind you, a cheer erupts. A loud, joyous, disbelieving cheer. The villagers rush forward, their faces alight with awe and gratitude. You are lifted onto their shoulders. You have done it. You have defeated the badger. With a spoon. By accident. You are hailed as a hero. A halo of pure, dumbfounded confusion forms above your head. Your status in the village of Grumbleton has undergone a dramatic and irreversible transformation. You are no longer the dreaded tax collector, a figure of fear and quiet resentment. You are now the badger bane, the spoon wielder, the hero of the cabbage patch. The villagers look at you with a new light in their eyes, a mixture of awe, reverence, and a healthy dose of confusion. They whisper your name as you pass, which you've learned is probably not your real name. But they say it with such conviction that you've started to answer to it anyway. The first order of business is to formally rescind your tax collecting duties, which of course you never had in the first place. The village elder makes a grand speech about your mercy and your unexpected transition from financial enforcer to protector of the innocent. You nod solemnly, playing along as it seems to make everyone happy. They throw a small, endearingly awkward festival in your honor. A bonfire is lit in the center of the square, casting a warm, flickering glow on the happy faces of the villagers. There is dancing, a lively, stomping affair that involves more enthusiasm than skill. There is soup, which is slightly less sad this time, with 2 pieces of potato and what might be a hint of onion. A local bard, a man with a lute that has only 2 strings, sings a hastily composed ballad about your heroic deed. It's called The Ballad of the Clattering Spoon and the Cowardly Badger. It is not very good, but it is sung with great feeling. A goat, who seems to be an important member of the community, sings along with a series of well-timed melodic bleats. As the festival reaches its peak, it is time for the presentation of your reward. The elder approaches, his face grave with the importance of the moment. He is holding a plush velvet pillow, a startling splash of luxury in this humble village. On the pillow rests a single, unusually large radish. It is a magnificent specimen. Its skin is a vibrant tapestry of purple and white, perfectly formed and free of blemishes, and it glows. A faint, gentle, otherworldly light emanates from it, pulsing softly like a sleepy heartbeat. This, the elder says, his voice trembling with emotion, is the blessed radish of Grumbleton. It has been in my family for generations. It was first blessed by my great-grandmother, a woman of formidable spirit who once stared down a mildly annoyed goose and won. It is said to bring good fortune, ward off melancholy, and improve the flavor of stews. May it guide your path, O great spoon wielder. You accept the radish. It is surprisingly heavy in your hands with a pleasant, earthy weight. It feels important. You hold it up for the crowd to see. The villagers cheer, their voices echoing through the square. The goat bows deeply. You thank them for their kindness, their hospitality, and their strange, wonderful, glowing vegetable. You know it is time to leave. Your work here, whatever it was, is done. You wander off down the muddy road, the blessed radish held carefully in your hands. Bartholomew the spoon is quiet for once, nestled in your pocket, perhaps humbled by the radish's holy light. Your hat, however, hums a cheerful, jaunty tune, a little victory march just for you. You are no longer a tax collector. You are a hero with a blessed radish. You have no idea what to do with it, but you are certain it will be important. The world is a strange place, but today it is a strange place where you are a champion. And that is a rather nice feeling. From the royal road to the capital, you encounter a slow-moving caravan. It is not a merchant's caravan laden with goods, nor a noble's retinue filled with guards and servants. This is something else entirely. It is pulled by two very large, very sleepy-looking oxen, who seem to be walking in their sleep. The people walking beside the carts move with a slow, deliberate pace, their steps unhurried, their faces serene. They are dressed in comfortable, shapeless robes of soft, faded colors, and they wear formless hats that flop gently with every step. They do not seem to be going anywhere in particular. They seem to be arriving constantly in a state of perpetual, gentle present. You approach them, your glowing radish held before you like a lantern. A man with a long white beard and eyes that are half closed in a state of blissful contemplation smiles at you. His voice, when he speaks, is a low, soothing hum, like the sound of a distant bee in a field of lavender. "Greetings, traveler," he says. You walk with the quiet purpose of one who understands the value of a good rest. Your aura is sleepy. You nod. Napping is one of your few true skills, honed over years of finding comfort in ditches, haystacks, and under questionable tavern tables. He introduces his group. They are the Somnolent Brotherhood, a guild of competitive nappers. They are not a religious order, nor a philosophical school, but something far more profound. They travel the land, not seeking fame or fortune, but the most comfortable places to sleep. They are on a holy quest for the perfect nap. They have ranked the haystacks of the northern shires based on softness, scent, and resistance to prying farm animals. They have reviewed the mossy riverbanks of the west for their acoustic properties and their proximity to gentle, burbling water. They are cartographers of comfort, pioneers of peace. The leader of the Brotherhood looks you over. He sees the way you lean against a tree, instantly finding the one spot where the bark is softest. He sees the way you can find a moment of peace on even the rockiest ground. He hears tales from a passing bird of your legendary ability to achieve deep restorative sleep in a muddy ditch. They are impressed, deeply impressed. You are invited to join their noble order. You are made an honorary member on the spot. Your title is bestowed upon you in a quiet, yawning ceremony, Master of the Unintentional Slumber. You are given a soft woolen blanket and a small pillow filled with calming herbs that smell of chamomile and dreams. You join their slow, peaceful journey toward the capital. You walk with them, but mostly you nap with them. You nap under ancient oak trees, the sun dappling your face through the leaves. You nap in sunny meadows, the grass a soft green mattress beneath you. You nap against a surprisingly comfortable cow, its warm, steady breathing a soothing rhythm. It is the most peaceful time you have had in ages. You feel seen. You feel understood. You have found your people. You arrive in the capital city, a place of loud noises and important-looking people. The somnolent brotherhood bids you a sleepy farewell at the city gates, having found a particularly inviting patch of grass that requires their immediate and full-time napping attention. You are on your own again, a solitary island of calm in an ocean of chaos. The city is a bewildering maze of stone and sound. People rush past you in a blur of color and purpose. Carts clatter over the cobblestones, their wooden wheels groaning under the weight of their cargo. Someone is yelling with great passion about the price of eels. You feel very small, very slow, and very out of place. Your comfortable napping pace is no match for the frantic energy of the capital. You get lost, hopelessly, magnificently lost. You are trying to find a bakery, drawn by the distant, promising scent of baking bread, but you take a wrong turn, then another, and another. You end up in a narrow, twisting alley that smells of fish, damp stone, and centuries of regret. It is a dead end. You turn to go back, but the way you came has vanished, replaced by a wall that wasn't there before. The city is playing tricks on you. You see an open door in the side of a tall stone building. It is small and unassuming. You go through it, hoping it leads back to a main street. It does not. It leads to a dark, narrow, vertical chute. Before you can react, you slip on a loose bit of something. You lose your footing. You fall. You do not fall with a scream. You fall with a quiet, surprised, "Oh." You land, not with a painful thud, but with a soft, luxurious poof. You are in a mountain of velvet, warm, soft, royal-smelling velvet. It is a pile of freshly laundered royal garments. You have accidentally wandered into the royal castle through the laundry chute. Guards find you almost immediately. Two large men in polished, gleaming armor. They stare down at you, buried up to your chest in purple velvet. They see your strange, buzzing hat, which has survived the fall and is now perched jauntily on your head. They see the glowing, blessed radish, which you are still clutching as if it were the key to the universe. They see your generally confused and slightly dusty demeanor. They do not see a threat. They do not see an intruder. They see a solution to their problem. One of them clears his throat, a loud, official sound. "You're late," he says, his voice stern but with an undercurrent of relief. "The king has been waiting." He looks at your radish, his brow furrowed in thought. Is that part of the act? They assume you are the new court jester they were expecting from the distant land of far-flung Jesterland. Before you can protest, before you can explain the series of unfortunate naps and accidental miracles that led you here, you are whisked away, plucked from the velvet mountain and hurried down a long, torchlit corridor. Your new career is about to begin. You are dressed in motley, a tunic of clashing colors, a violent shade of orange paired with a green that has personally offended the concept of subtlety, tights of two different warring stripes, a hat with 3 floppy points, each tipped with the small brass bell that jingles with every nervous twitch. It is a definite, undeniable downgrade from your usual hat, which is now being held for safekeeping by a guard who seemed very interested in its humming properties. You are pushed, gently but firmly, in front of the royal court. The throne room is vast and intimidating. Taperies depicting heroic, bloody battles hang from the stone walls. The floor is polished marble, so shiny you can see a distorted, wobbly reflection of your own terrified face. The king sits on a large, golden throne, his expression one of profound, soul-crushing boredom. The queen, beside him, is fanning herself with a single enormous peacock feather. The assembled courtiers, dressed in silks and velvets, are whispering behind their hands, their eyes glinting with the cruel hope of seeing someone fail. You are told to jest. You do not know how to jest. You are a man of quiet contemplation and accidental adventure. Jesting requires a level of energy and social awareness you simply do not possess. You stand there, a deer caught in the blinding headlights of royal expectation. The bells on your hat jingle mockingly in the heavy silence. You can feel the weight of their expectant stares. You panic. So you do the only thing you can think of. You tell a story. A quiet, gentle story about a sentient turnip named Gregory. You explain his unique ability to communicate by pulsing with colored light. You describe his quiet wisdom, his calm demeanor, his love of soft soil. You speak with heartfelt sincerity. Silence. A deep, profound, echoing silence. No one laughs. No one even smiles. The king raises a single, perfectly sculpted eyebrow. A single enlightened-looking pigeon perched on a high rafter seems to weep with profound understanding, but no one else in the room is moved. Your story has landed with the gentle thud of a wet sock. From a pocket in your motley tunic where you had hidden him, Bartholomew the Spoon whispers, his voice a scratchy, urgent hiss. Try sarcasm. You are desperate. You will try anything. You look at the king's very large, very golden, very ostentatious crown. You clear your throat and say, with what you hope is a witty, ironic tone, "That's a nice hat. Did you make it yourself?" More silence. This time it is thicker, heavier. You could cut it with a knife. You have failed. Spectacularly, magnificently, and in front of the entire court. Your career as a jester has lasted approximately 3 minutes, and it has been a disaster. The king, a man whose boredom is a palpable force in the room, a man who is known to be dangerously whimsical when his ennui reaches a critical level, decides to give you one last, fateful chance. He leans forward on his golden throne, his chin resting in his hand, and a flicker of something that might be interest or might be cruelty dances in his eyes. "Jester," he says, his voice dripping with royal ennui, a sound that could curdle milk. "I have a riddle for you." The court leans in as one. The whispering stops. The air grows still and tense. This is not a game. This is a test. A test you are almost certain to fail. "What?" the king asks, his voice echoing slightly in the vast throne room. "Is the difference between my crown and a turnip?" You panic. Your mind, which was already a quiet, foggy landscape, goes completely blank. It is a vast, white, empty space with a single, scared-looking sheep in the corner. You look at the king's magnificent jewel-encrusted crown. It glitters under the light of the chandeliers, a dazzling, intricate symbol of power, wealth, divine right, and generations of royal history. It is a masterpiece of the goldsmith's art. It is, by any measure, a very impressive hat. Then you think of Gregory, your quiet, humble, steadfast turnip companion from a previous adventure. You remember his gentle, pulsing glow, his steady, calming presence, his simple, earthy wisdom. You remember how he always seemed to know what to do, even when you were hopelessly lost. He was, in his own way, perfect. You look at the crown again, with all its cold, glittering perfection. You look at the king, with his bored, cruel eyes, and then you say, with the simple, devastating, unthinking honesty of a truly confused man, one of them seems to know what it's doing. A gasp ripples through the court. It is a soft, horrified sound, like 100 silk handkerchiefs being dropped at once. The queen stops fanning herself, her peacock feather held frozen in midair. The pigeon on the rafter, the one who understood your story, lets out a single mournful coo and flies away, sensing that things are about to get very, very unpleasant. The king's face, which was a mask of languid boredom, slowly transforms. The color drains from it, then returns in a tide of mottled red. His eyes narrow, his lips thin into a hard, straight line. You have not just failed the riddle, you have committed an act of vegetable-based treason. The king does not find your answer funny. He does not find it profound. He finds it deeply, personally, and unforgivably insulting. The implication that a root vegetable possesses more wisdom and purpose than his royal crown, and by extension, himself, is a truth too sharp, too potent for his fragile ego to bear. He stands up, his royal robe of crimson velvet swishing with righteous anger. The throne room, which was silent, is now filled with the sound of his heavy, furious breathing. Banish this vegetable philosopher, he roars, his voice bouncing off the high stone walls. Banish him from my sight, banish him from this kingdom. Let him go and commune with his wise and purposeful turnips in the wilderness. You are seized by the guards. You are stripped of your jester hat with its mocking little bells. Your own familiar, buzzing hat is returned to you, which is a small but significant comfort. It settles onto your head with a soft, reassuring hum as if to say, there, it's over now. You are not thrown out of the gates with violence. There is no kicking, no shoving. Instead, the guards, who moments before were enjoying your failure, now look at you with a strange mixture of pity and awe. They lead you out of the throne room with a quiet, almost ceremonial reverence. It is as if they are exiling a prophet whose wisdom is too pure and too dangerous for their corrupt and frivolous court. They handle you gently, as if you are a fragile, holy object. You are marched through the long corridors of the castle, past tapestries and suits of armor. You are led through the bailey, across the drawbridge, and to the great gates of the capital city. With a groan of ancient wood and iron, the gates are opened just enough for you to pass through. You are thrown out, with nothing but the simple robe on your back, your blessed radish, which a sympathetic guard tucked into your hand, and your whispering, terrible advice-giving spoon. The great gates of the capital city slam shut behind you with a sound of finality, like the closing of a very large, very important book. You are in exile, again. You stand on the dusty road, the city at your back, the wilderness before you, and you sigh. The life of an accidental philosopher is a lonely one. Your banishment leads you into the Whispering Woods. The great gates of the capital city slammed shut behind you with a sound of profound finality, like a very large, very important book closing on a chapter you didn't even realize you were in. You stood there for a moment on the dusty road, a solitary figure clutching a blessed radish and a whispering spoon. The dust settled around your feet. A single tumbleweed, looking as lost and aimless as you felt, rolled past. You sighed. The life of an accidental philosopher was a lonely and often dusty one. You turned your back on the city and began to walk, following the path as it sloped gently downward, away from the world of kings and riddles and into the shadows of the forest. The transition is immediate and absolute. One moment you are on a sun-drenched road, the next you are plunged into a cool green twilight. The air grows heavy, damp, and still. The path, which was once a clear and purposeful line, becomes overgrown and indistinct, smelling of moss, decaying leaves, and a deep, ancient melancholy. The sunlight struggles to pierce the thick canopy of leaves above, casting the forest floor in a perpetual gloomy dusk. The sounds of the outside world, the distant bleating of sheep, the call of a bird, fade away, replaced by a profound, muffling silence. The trees here are strange. They are not the menacing, grasping trees of children's fairy tales. Their branches do not look like claws, and their roots do not trip you with malicious intent. They are simply sad. They are ancient, gnarled oaks and tall, slender birches, but they all share the same weary posture. They lean over the path, their branches drooping like the weary arms of someone who has been waiting for bad news for a very, very long time. The bark on the oaks is twisted into patterns that look uncannily like frowning, worried faces. The white bark of the birches is streaked with dark lines that resemble tear tracks. The leaves are a faded, tired green, as if they have collectively given up on the whole concept of photosynthesis and are simply waiting for autumn to claim them. They do not rustle in the wind, they sigh. It is a constant, gentle, rustling sigh that sounds like 1,000 quiet disappointments murmuring in unison. It is the sound of a forgotten promise, of a misplaced teacup, of a soup that was almost but not quite perfect. With every soft gust of wind, they drop single leaves onto your head and shoulders. It is not done with malice or aggression. It is done with a sense of gentle, passive-aggressive sorrow. A single brown oak leaf lands on your shoulder, and you can almost hear it whisper, "Oh, don't mind me. I'll just lie here and decompose." The entire forest seems to be collectively grieving for something it can no longer remember. The air is thick with a feeling of gentle, pervasive gloom. Even the birdsong here is in a minor key, a sad little tune about a lost worm. A squirrel perched on a branch above you looks down, sighs, and drops its acorn. It doesn't even bother to go and find it. It is here, surrounded by the profound and slightly ridiculous melancholy of the trees, that you realize you are very, very lost. The path has completely disappeared, swallowed up by the sad, sighing undergrowth of ferns and moss. Every direction looks the same. More sad trees, more gloomy twilight. You are adrift in a sea of gentle, arboreal despair. You sit down on a large, moss-covered rock that seems to sigh with a deep, earthy weariness when you touch it. You pat its mossy side comfortingly. "I know," you whisper. "Me too." You lean back against the rock and close your eyes for a moment. You think about your companions. Your hat gives a low, sympathetic hum, a tune that is slow and somber, like a dirge for a fallen sandwich. It understands the mood of this place. You pull the blessed radish from your robe. Its gentle glow seems a little dimmer here. a little less confident in the face of such overwhelming sadness. It pulses with a slow, hesitant light. From your other pocket, Bartholomew the spoon whispers, his voice a tiny, scratchy complaint. "This place has terrible ambience," he says. "No one has had soup here in centuries. I can feel it. And the decor is so green. Someone should really do something about it. Perhaps some cheerful yellow flowers, or a nice, violent battle that always livens things up." You gently shush him. His particular brand of chaos is not welcome in this quiet sanctuary of sorrow. You spend what feels like hours wandering through the woods. Time seems to move differently here, stretching and compressing like a sad accordion. The forest does not change. It is an endless, repeating landscape of gentle botanical depression. You pass the same weeping willow 3 times. Or maybe it's 3 different weeping willows who all look alike because they share the same profound sense of existential angst. You try to follow a small stream, but it seems to be flowing in a circle, endlessly returning to a small, murky pool where a single, sad-looking frog stares at its own reflection. You begin to talk to the trees, your voice a low murmur that is quickly absorbed by the moss and the silence. "What's wrong?" you ask a particularly droopy oak. "Did you lose an acorn?" You pat its rough bark. "It will be all right." The tree responds by dropping a leaf on your head. You come to a birch tree whose bark is peeling in long, sorrowful strips. "I know it's hard," you say to it, "but you have to let it go." The tree sighs, a long, rustling sound that stirs the air around you. You are becoming a therapist for a forest. It is a strange, but not entirely unpleasant, new role. Just as you are beginning to resign yourself to a new life as a hermit who gives unsolicited emotional support to depressed flora, you see it. A change in the light. Ahead, through a thick grove of sighing pines, you see a sliver of brighter, warmer light. A golden light. You hear a sound, too, faint at first, but growing stronger. It is not a sigh. It is a sound of life. A distant, gentle bleating. And the smell. The heavy, damp scent of the woods is giving way to something else. Something warm and sweet. The smell of fresh hay and contentment. Hope, a feeling you had almost forgotten, flutters in your chest. You push through the final curtain of drooping branches and step out of the whispering woods. You leave the collective, gentle sorrow behind you. You emerge into a clearing, blinking in the warm, golden light of the late afternoon. The contrast is staggering. The world is bright and colorful again. And before you, nestled in a small, peaceful valley, is a sight so strange and so wonderfully serene that you can only stand and stare. You have found the goat village. Your next adventure is about to begin. You stumble out of the whispering woods, your robe covered in sad leaves, in the heavy melancholy of the forest clinging to you like a damp shroud. You push through a final curtain of drooping willow branches, stepping over a root that seems to sigh with a deep, earthy weariness, and emerge into the light. The contrast is staggering, a physical shock to your system. You blink, your eyes adjusting to a world that is no longer painted in shades of gloomy green and gray. Before you lies a small, peaceful valley, bathed in the warm, golden light of the late afternoon. The air is clear and sweet, carrying the scent of fresh hay, baking bread, and something else. Something warm, animal, and deeply content. You have found the goat village. It is nestled in a gentle curve of the rolling hills, a perfect sanctuary shielded from the sorrows of the world. The cottages are not the hunched, fearful dwellings of Grumbleton, but neat, cheerful structures of whitewashed stone and sturdy oak beams. Their roofs are made of soft green thatch, so thick and lush that wildflowers have taken root, dotting the rooftops with splashes of blue and yellow. Every window has a brightly painted shutter and a window box overflowing with fragrant herbs and cheerful-looking flowers. Smoke rises from the chimneys, not in nervous wisps, but in lazy, confident curls that drift toward the sky with a sense of peaceful purpose. The entire village feels less like a place that was built and more like a place that grew organically and happily from the earth itself. And there are goats everywhere. But they are not ordinary goats, left to wander and chew on whatever they please. These goats are not livestock. They are revered citizens. They are treated with a level of respect and adoration that would make the king in the capital blush with envy. On the porch of a small cottage, a fluffy white goat with a tiny, delicate crown of woven wildflowers is sleeping soundly on a pile of silk pillows, its little beard twitching with whatever dreams goats dream. They seem to accept your presence as naturally as they accept the rising of the sun. You feel the tension in your shoulders begin to melt away. The sadness of the whispering woods falls from you like a heavy, damp cloak. The ambassador goat leads you to the center of the square, where a large, flat stone sits beneath the shade of an old apple tree. The stone is worn smooth from centuries of use, and a few goats are napping peacefully around its base. Your guide bleats softly, and an old woman with eyes as ancient as the hills and a face a beautiful map of wrinkles turns to you. She is the one you saw braiding a goat's beard. She smiles at you. "Welcome, traveler," she says, her voice as soft and warm as a woolen blanket. "The path has brought you to us. You look weary. Please sit and rest." She offers you a small wooden cup filled with fresh, cool water and a slice of bread spread with sweet, fragrant honey. You accept them with a grateful nod. You sit on the edge of the great stone, and as you eat, the ambassador goat settles down at your feet, resting its head on your knee. A feeling of profound peace settles over you. It is a peace you have not felt in a very long time. You do not know what tomorrow will bring, or what strange destiny awaits you in this village, but for now, you are safe, you are welcome, and you are surrounded by very important, very fluffy goats. For the first time in a long time, you feel like you might have finally found your way home. They seem to accept your presence as naturally as they accept the rising of the sun. You feel the tension in your shoulders begin to melt away. The sadness of the whispering woods falls from you like a heavy, damp cloak. The ambassador goat leads you to the center of the square, where a large, flat stone sits beneath the shade of an old apple tree. The stone is worn smooth from centuries of use, and the few goats are napping peacefully around its base. Your guide bleats softly, and an old woman with eyes as ancient as the hills and a face a beautiful map of wrinkles turns to you. She is the one you saw braiding a goat's beard. She smiles at you. "Welcome, traveler," she says, her voice as soft and warm as a woolen blanket. "The path has brought you to us. You look weary. Please, sit and rest." She offers you a small wooden cup filled with fresh, cool water and a slice of bread spread with sweet, fragrant honey. You accept them with a grateful nod. You sit on the edge of the great stone, and as you eat, the ambassador goat settles down at your feet, resting its head on your knee. A feeling of profound peace settles over you. It is a peace you have not felt in a very long time. You do not know what tomorrow will bring, or what strange destiny awaits you in this village. But for now, you are safe. You are welcome. And you are surrounded by very important, very fluffy goats. For the first time in a long time, you feel like you might have finally found your way home. You sit on the edge of the great stone, a cup of cool water in one hand and a slice of honeyed bread in the other. A feeling of profound peace, a feeling you haven't felt in a very long time, settles over you like a warm, woolen blanket. The late afternoon sun casts long, golden shadows across the village square. The air is filled with the gentle chiming of goat bells and the soft, contented hum of a village at rest. The ambassador goat, the one who led you here, is now curled up at your feet, its head resting comfortably on your knee, its soft breathing a steady, calming rhythm. You scratch it gently behind the ears. It lets out a small, happy sigh. Your hat gives a low, appreciative hum, a sound it usually reserves for ancient libraries and particularly excellent soup. For the first time in what feels like a lifetime of wandering, you are not an outcast, a jester, or a misunderstanding waiting to happen. You are simply a guest, a welcome guest. The village elder, the woman with the kind eyes and the face like a beautiful map of wrinkles, sits on a bench nearby, knitting with yarn that looks like it was spun from clouds and sunset. She watches you, not with the intrusive stare of a stranger, but with a quiet, thoughtful curiosity. She seems to be taking in every detail. The way your damp robe is finally starting to dry in the warm air, the way you hold the blessed radish in your lap as if it were a sleeping child, the way your hat seems to vibrate with its own inner life. You smile at her. She smiles back, a gentle, knowing smile that seems to hold the history of the village within it. The world feels soft and slow and safe. Then, as the sun begins its final, slow descent toward the horizon, painting the clouds in shades of orange and pink, the light changes. A single, brilliant beam of golden light lances through a gap in the hills and strikes you. It illuminates you, sitting there on the stone, turning the dust motes in the air around you into a swirling galaxy of tiny, glittering stars. The light catches your hat, and its gentle hum deepens, rising in pitch until it becomes a soft, clear, melodic note, a single, perfect chord that hangs in the still evening air. The blessed radish in your lap seems to respond to the light, its inner glow intensifying, pulsing with a warm, steady purple light that is both earthy and ethereal. The elder freezes. Her knitting needles, which had been clicking with a steady, rhythmic piece, fall silent. They slip from her hands and clatter onto the cobblestones, but she does not seem to notice. Her eyes, which were soft and curious, are now wide with a sudden, staggering realization. She gasps, a sharp, indrawn breath that cuts through the peaceful hum of the village. The goat at your feet lifts its head, sensing the change in the air. The elder rises from her bench, her movements no longer slow and gentle, but filled with a new, electric purpose. She walks toward you, her eyes fixed on your glowing radish and your singing hat. The villagers, who had been quietly going about their evening chores, notice her change in demeanor. The gentle chatter ceases. The chiming of the bells seems to fade. A hush falls over the village square as every eye turns first to the elder, and then to you, the strange, glowing man at the center of it all. The elder does not speak to you. Instead, she walks past you to the large, flat stone tablet in the center of the square, the one worn smooth by centuries of reverence. She kneels before it, her hands tracing the ancient, spiraling carvings that cover its surface. You see now that they are not just decorations, they are stories, prophecies. There are carvings of goats with crowns of stars, of strange men with hats that touch the sky, of radishes that shine like moons. She traces a specific line of carvings with a trembling finger, her lips moving silently as she reads the ancient stone. Her face is alight with the fire of revelation. Then she rises and turns to the small chest that rests at the base of the stone. She opens it with a reverence usually reserved for holy relics. From within, she pulls out a scroll. It is not made of paper or parchment, but of something far more precious and personal. Fine white goat hair, woven together with threads of silver into a soft, flexible tapestry that seems to shimmer in the torchlight that the villagers are now lighting as dusk settles. She holds it up for all to see, then slowly, ceremonially, unrolls it. She begins to read. Her voice no longer soft, but strong and clear, ringing with the authority of ancient truth. When the path of sorrow ends, she reads, her voice echoing in the silent square, and the sad woods release their grip, a stranger shall arrive, not on a steed of war, but on a path of peace.
First low what something of Miss listen to it in the habit and port and milk the head over truly blood. I mean I'm child over Miss Carson. That's right there, Em and Morgan Giller, channel back now there, love your getting chatted again. No family real this leader of the Denzi you sometimes minks to look a bit of creep there is fixing it's enough they stay when you make him come at Julian what tree one and rest more still because that is the thing what is an Emma with the never that's what I'm where and I'm on this booker woolly and endless so can't like a chef Jared sees as fun run for you and the favorite is the vanishes me into you our life was mixed zero it was actually just what not making what's the level to me to give that tourist and just really that okay didn't any which man off what if you go the piece was helpful get a rule from that thing just in life and so I realize our this we're wing on sync it's bad for the cat legislative what so what a little bit was say middle is it near end guard mark the side the right and and drag them to the sheet on the middle page sir the fact is the never which we either by get over me this I'm complete being for me oh there yes and so small the theater hey let's cover it because we just it remember aren't finding no lots is painter and so the show where the wheel was and see the back show real and we watch our one we're like not grubbers oh yeah it went banned for rights oh I mean and I'm just damn no let them some happy to the engine to go to the dance my arms and mix with that finger went I just went he was that mix character it's regular then you section it's just cringe for and that means never meant me summer I've been dang with there that's just I went and evil because he believed I lost it it's insurance final I was designed to the random artist I took the time Sarah knows actually been hacking the actress they let it he acted snare to me smell it so this is stuff all how much your Luke I mean it's terrible LGBT to make them people worse well but like law the way moved on hold was like imprinting that and the with some woman and so naturally my two daughters so sweet the help of sister the bishops should be anxious
You are not given a choice in the matter. Destiny, especially goat-related destiny that has been foretold on a sacred stone tablet and confirmed by a singing hat, is not something one argues with in this village. To refuse would be to defy the will of the great sky goat, to reject the promise of a bountiful harvest, and, perhaps most importantly, to be profoundly, unforgivably rude. And you are, if nothing else, a polite and accommodating wanderer. So you accept your fate with the quiet, bewildered grace that has become your defining characteristic. You are getting married. To a goat. The thought settles in your mind not with panic, but with a strange, dreamlike sense of inevitability. Of course this is happening. After everything else, why wouldn't it? The wedding preparations begin immediately. You are treated not as a confused traveler, but as a cherished groom, a holy figure about to perform a sacred duty. You are led by the village elder and a small retinue of smiling women to a special ceremonial hut behind the main hall. Here, you are prepared for the sacred union. You are bathed in warm milk and honey, a process that is both incredibly sticky and surprisingly pleasant. The milk is warm against your skin, and the honey fills the air with a sweet, fragrant scent. The women who attend to you do so with a gentle, reverent touch, humming soft, ancient tunes as they work. They scrub you with cloths made of soft moss and rinse you with water infused with lavender and chamomile. It is the cleanest you have been in weeks, possibly years. You feel less like a man being prepared for a wedding and more like a precious, dusty relic being lovingly restored. Once you are clean and smelling faintly of a floral, milky dessert, you are dressed in your wedding attire. It is not the motley of a jester or the simple robe of a wanderer. You are given a new robe of the finest, softest wool, the color of fresh cream. It is embroidered at the cuffs and hem with delicate silver threads that form patterns of intertwining vines and tiny, stylized goats. It is the most beautiful garment you have ever worn. It feels soft and light against your skin. Your hat, which had been taken for a ceremonial cleansing of its own, is returned to you. It seems to have enjoyed its spa day. It gives a low, contented hum, and a few small, happy sparks flicker from its brim. You place it on your head. It settles into place with a feeling of rightness, of belonging. The wedding is a beautiful, if profoundly unconventional, affair. It takes place at sunset, in a meadow filled with wildflowers that nod their heads gently in the evening breeze. The air is thick with the sweet scent of crushed clover and honeysuckle. Torches on tall wooden poles have been placed in a wide circle, casting a warm, flickering golden light over the proceedings. The entire village has gathered, their faces filled with a quiet, joyous reverence. A choir of chickens, perched neatly on a nearby fence, provides the wedding music, a series of soft, clucking harmonies that is strangely moving and surprisingly in tune. At the head of the meadow, a small altar has been constructed from smooth gray river stones and decorated with garlands of ivy and white roses. The priest, the same one who blessed your marriage to the prophecy, stands before it. He is a man with a long, white beard and a crown of woven willow branches. He smiles at you, a warm, reassuring smile. Then comes the bride. Princess Buttercup is a vision. She is led down an aisle of scattered flower petals by two small children. She is wearing a delicate veil of woven daisies and Queen Anne's lace over her fluffy white head. Her coat has been brushed until it shines like spun silk in the twilight. She looks serene, majestic, and entirely ready for her sacred duty. She walks with a regal grace, her small silver bell chiming softly with each step. She stops before the altar and looks at you with her intelligent amber eyes. There is a wisdom in her gaze, a calm acceptance that soothes your own fluttering nerves. The priest begins to speak, his voice low and gentle, about the ancient bond between man and goat, between the earth and the sky. He speaks of the prophecy, of the humming hat and the sacred root, of the union that will bring balance to the land. Then he turns to you. He asks you to make your vows. You look at Princess Buttercup. You are not sure what vows to make to a goat, so you speak from the heart. You promise to always provide fresh, sweet hay. You promise to scratch her behind the ears when she is feeling thoughtful or sad. You promise to protect her from grumpy badgers and overly ambitious sheep. You promise to be a good and gentle husband. The priest then asks your bride for her vows. He looks at her expectantly. Princess Buttercup lets out a soft melodic bleat. It is a sound of pure contentment. The priest nods sagely. She accepts, he announces to the crowd. Finally, the priest turns back to you. The moment has arrived. Do you, he asks, his voice resonating with ancient authority, take this goat, Princess Buttercup, to be your lawfully wedded wife, to cherish in sickness and in health, in times of plenty and in times of want, as the prophecy demands. You look at the hopeful faces of the villagers, their eyes shining in the torchlight. You look into the gentle, wise, amber eyes of Princess Buttercup. You take a deep breath. I do, you say. The words feel strange and right at the same time. The goat bleats again, a clear, ringing sound of affirmation that echoes through the quiet meadow. Then by the power of the sky goat and the blessed radish, the priest declares, I pronounce you man and goat. From deep within your pocket, Bartholomew the spoon whispers, his voice filled with tiny wooden despair. I object. This is a culinary travesty. But no one hears him. The villagers cheer. The chickens cluck with unrestrained joy. The sun sets, painting the sky in a final, brilliant flourish of pink and gold. Your life changes. The endless, aimless wandering, the constant state of low-grade panic and confusion is over. You are no longer just a traveler, a hero, a failed jester, or a man who is very good at sleeping in ditches. You have a new identity, a new purpose, a new and startlingly official title. You are the goat consort. You are a husband. You wake up the morning after your wedding, not to the cold, damp embrace of a ditch, but to the soft, warm light of dawn, filtering through the window of a small, clean cottage. The air smells of fresh hay, lavender, and something else, a warm animal scent that is both earthy and deeply comforting. You are lying on a bed, stuffed with goose feathers, a luxury so profound it feels almost scandalous. Next to you, sleeping peacefully on a pile of embroidered silk pillows, is your wife, Princess Buttercup. Her fluffy white side rises and falls with the steady rhythm of her breathing. A soft, contented sigh escapes her lips. She is, by all accounts, a very peaceful sleeper. You lie still for a long moment, simply taking in the sheer, unadulterated strangeness of it all. You are a married man. Your wife is a goat. This is your life now. You have duties, a schedule, a purpose. You are no longer adrift on the sea of fate. You are a key component in the well-oiled, goat-centric machinery of the village. Your first official duty of the day is to attend the goat council meeting. You are escorted to the meeting place, a sunny patch of particularly lush clover in the center of the village, by 2 young goats who act as your ceremonial guard. The council is already in session. It consists of 12 of the village's oldest and wisest goats, each seated on a small mossy stone, looking solemn and important. Princess Buttercup, as royalty, has a slightly larger stone. You are given a stone of your own, right beside her. The meetings are conducted entirely in a series of solemn, meaningful bleats. punctuated by thoughtful cud chewing and the occasional dramatic stamping of a hoof. You do not understand the language, of course, but you quickly learn the art of looking engaged and wise. You nod thoughtfully, you steeple your fingers, you gaze into the middle distance with an expression of profound contemplation. The main topics of debate, as far as you can gather from the tone and intensity of the bleats, are the consistently high quality of the local grass, the strategic placement of a new salt lick near the eastern pasture, and a lengthy, passionate discussion about an ongoing territorial dispute with a flock of particularly arrogant sheep from the next valley over. You learn to interpret your wife's moods through her subtle, nuanced bleats. This becomes your most important skill, the cornerstone of your new life. A short, sharp, happy bleat means she is pleased, usually because you have found a particularly delicious patch of dandelions for her to nibble on. A long, drawn-out, mournful bleat, a sound of pure, heart-wrenching sorrow, means the hay in her sleeping quarters is not fresh enough, and you must remedy the situation immediately, lest the great sky goat look down upon your negligence with displeasure. A series of soft, gentle clicks, a sound she makes deep in her throat, means she is feeling philosophical and would like to have her ears scratched while she contemplates the great mysteries of the universe, such as the nature of fences and the true meaning of a sunbeam. From your pocket, Bartholomew the Spoon offers a running commentary, his voice a tiny, cynical whisper. "They're debating clover now," he scoffs during one particularly long council meeting. "The relative merits of the 3-leaf versus the 4-leaf. This is a new low even for you." You gently shush him. He does not understand the delicate political balance of the village. Your hat, however, seems to have settled in nicely. It hums with a low, contented pastoral tune, a gentle melody that blends perfectly with the soft chiming of the goat bells. It seems to have found its spiritual home. Your days fall into a peaceful, predictable rhythm. In the morning, you attend the council meeting. In the afternoon, you and Princess Buttercup nap in a sunbeam in the meadow. You rest your head on her soft, fluffy side, her warmth seeping into you, and you drift off into a dreamless, restful sleep. In the evening, you share a meal with the villagers, simple, wholesome food. Fresh bread, sharp cheese, sweet apples, and bowls of soup that are, to your delight and Bartholomew's profound disappointment, no longer sad. They are rich and flavorful, filled with fresh vegetables from the thriving village gardens. You discover that Princess Buttercup is a wonderful wife. She is wise and kind, a steady, calming presence in your chaotic life. She is a good listener. You tell her all about your adventures, about the witch, the king, the pie festival, the trial by squirrels. She listens intently, her amber eyes soft with understanding, occasionally nudging your hand with her nose as if to say, "That sounds very stressful. Have you considered eating this patch of clover? It's very good." She is a source of uncomplicated affection and quiet support. You feel a deep, genuine fondness for her. It is a peaceful existence, a simple, predictable life. You wake up with the sun, you attend your council meetings, you spend your afternoons napping in a sunbeam with Princess Buttercup. You begin to think you could get used to it. You have found a home, you have found a family. You are, for the first time in a very long time, content. The constant low-grade hum of anxiety that has followed you on your travels has faded away, replaced by the gentle chiming of goat bells. You have forgotten what it feels like to be lost. You have forgotten what it feels like to be a jester, a hero, or a mistake. You are simply a man who is married to a goat. And for now, that is more than enough. The days in the goat village melt one into the next, a slow, gentle river of time. You have found a rhythm here, a peace that feels as soft and as warm as your wife's fluffy coat. The seasons begin to turn. The fiery heat of late summer softens into the golden, hazy light of early autumn. The leaves on the trees at the edge of the valley begin to blush with hints of red and gold, though the trees in the whispering woods you imagine are probably just turning a sadder shade of green. You have forgotten what it feels like to be lost, to be hungry, to be on trial by squirrels. Your life is a simple, beautiful tapestry woven from sunbeams, fresh hay, and the quiet, contented bleats of your goat family. Your mornings are spent in solemn, sleepy attendance at the goat council meetings, where you have become a master of the thoughtful nod and the contemplative gaze. Your afternoons are for napping with Princess Buttercup in a meadow of clover, the world a gentle, buzzing dream around you. In the evenings, you sit with the villagers, sharing stories and simple, wholesome meals. You have even started to understand the subtle nuances of goat politics. You know that Barnaby, the old goat with the crooked horn, is a staunch traditionalist who believes all major decisions should be confirmed by a good, long stare at the moon. You know that young Penelope is a radical progressive who is advocating for the introduction of more exotic grasses into their diet. It is a world of small dramas and gentle ambitions, and you are a part of it. Then the news begins to arrive. It comes in whispers carried by the wind and the weary travelers who occasionally pass through the valley. It is news of a sickness on the land, a blight, a strange, gray, creeping dust that settles on the fields and leaves nothing but decay in its wake. A farmer from a village to the east stops for a drink at the well, his face a mask of grief. He speaks of corn that turned black on the stalk overnight, of pumpkins that rotted from the inside out, of an eerie silence in the fields where there should be the rustle of a healthy harvest. A merchant from the south, his cart half empty, tells a tale of cattle growing weak and their milk souring in the pail. A shadow of hunger and fear is falling over the countryside. The villagers of the goat village listen to these stories with quiet, compassionate sympathy. They offer the travelers bread and fresh water. They listen to their woes with sad, gentle eyes. But the fear that haunts the travelers does not touch the village itself. Here, in this small sheltered valley, everything is different. The fields remain lush and impossibly green. The apple trees in the orchard hang heavy with crisp, sweet fruit. The goats are healthy and strong, their coats glossy, their milk sweet and plentiful. The village is an island of impossible prosperity in a sea of creeping decay. It is a miracle. The villagers believe it is the blessing of the great sky goat, a reward for their devotion, a confirmation that fulfilling the prophecy and accepting you into their community was the right and holy thing to do. They give thanks in their quiet, gentle way, offering the finest cabbages to the altar in the square and singing soft, grateful songs to the moon. They look at you with a renewed sense of awe, believing that your sacred presence, your holy union with Princess Buttercup, is what shields them from the world's sorrows. But you know it isn't that. You sit by the village well one afternoon, watching the clear, sweet water being drawn up in wooden buckets. You watch the children splash in it, their laughter echoing in the peaceful air. You watch the goats drink from the trough, their thirst quenched by the cool, pure liquid, and you feel a prickle of something in the back of your mind. A memory, hazy and distant, like a dream you can't quite hold on to. You remember the day you arrived, weary from your journey through the sad woods. You remember the weight in your robe pocket, the heavy, glowing blessed radish of Grumbleton. You had been tired of carrying it. It was a wonderful radish, a true hero of a vegetable, but it was also cumbersome. You remember walking over to this very well, looking for a place to set it down for a moment. And then, on an impulse born of laziness and a strange intuitive sense of rightness, you had used your hands to dig a small hole in the soft, damp earth right next to the well's stone base. You had planted the radish. You had tucked it into the soil, covered it up, and promptly forgotten all about it. The memory returns with a sudden, startling clarity. You look at the spot now. The grass there is thicker and greener than anywhere else in the village. A shadow of hunger and fear is falling over the countryside. The villagers of the goat village listen to these stories with quiet, compassionate sympathy. They offer the travelers bread and fresh water. They listen to their woes with sad, gentle eyes. But the fear that haunts the travelers does not touch the village itself. Here, in this small, sheltered valley, everything is different. The fields remain lush and impossibly green. The apple trees in the orchard hang heavy with crisp, sweet fruit. The goats are healthy and strong, their coats glossy, their milk sweet and plentiful. The village is an island of impossible prosperity in a sea of creeping decay. It is a miracle. The villagers believe it is the blessing of the great sky goat, a reward for their devotion, a confirmation that fulfilling the prophecy and accepting you into their community was the right and holy thing to do. They give thanks in their quiet, gentle way, offering the finest cabbages to the altar in the square and singing soft, grateful songs to the moon. They look at you with a renewed sense of awe, believing that your sacred presence, your holy union with Princess Buttercup, is what shields them from the world's sorrows. But you know it isn't that. You sit by the village well one afternoon, watching the clear, sweet water being drawn up in wooden buckets. You watch the children splash in it, their laughter echoing in the peaceful air. You watch the goats drink from the trough, their thirst quenched by the cool, pure liquid. And you feel a prickle of something in the back of your mind, a memory, hazy and distant, like a dream you can't quite hold on to. You remember the day you arrived, weary from your journey through the sad woods. You remember the weight in your robe pocket, the heavy, glowing, blessed radish of Grumbleton. You had been tired of carrying it. It was a wonderful radish, a true hero of a vegetable, but it was also cumbersome. You remember walking over to this very well, looking for a place to set it down for a moment. And then, on an impulse born of laziness and a strange, intuitive sense of rightness, you had used your hands to dig a small hole in the soft, damp earth right next to the well's stone base. You had planted the radish. You had tucked it into the soil, covered it up, and promptly forgotten all about it. The memory returns with a sudden, startling clarity. You look at the spot now. The grass there is thicker and greener than anywhere else in the village. The days that follow your quiet, private revelation are filled with a strange and beautiful peace. The knowledge that your entire village's prosperity, and indeed your own contentment, is built upon the accidental planting of a single lazy radish does not fill you with anxiety. Instead, it feels right. It is a secret that fits perfectly into the tapestry of your life, a thread of profound absurdity woven into a pattern of gentle, undeserved grace. You keep the secret to yourself. You do not tell the villagers, who are content in their belief that the great sky goat is smiling upon them. You do not tell your wife, Princess Buttercup, though you suspect she already knows. You simply carry the knowledge with you, a small, warm, and deeply amusing coal glowing in your heart. Life in the goat village continues its slow, idyllic rhythm. The blight that ravages the lands beyond the valley seems like a distant, half-forgotten bad dream. Here, the grass is a deep, impossible green. The apples in the orchard are crisp and sweet. The goats are happy, their coats shining with health, their bells chiming a soft, melodic tune that has become the soundtrack to your life. You are happy. You have found a home, a purpose, a family. You are a husband to a very important goat. It is a good life. Then the first traveler arrives. He is a merchant, a man whose face is a roadmap of weary miles and worried nights. His cart, pulled by a single skeletal horse, is half empty. He stops at the village well, his eyes wide with a sort of dazed disbelief as he takes in the lush greenery, the healthy animals, the air of serene prosperity that hangs over the valley like a protective blessing. He looks like a man who has stumbled out of a desert and into a dream. The villagers, in their quiet, gentle way, welcome him. They offer him cool, clear water from the well, a slice of fresh bread, and a piece of sharp, white goat cheese. He drinks the water in great, thirsty gulps. "It's sweet," he says, his voice raspy with dust and disbelief. "Every well for 50 miles is brackish and foul, but this is a miracle." The village elder, who is sitting nearby, smiles her serene, knowing smile. "The sky goat provides for those who honor the prophecies," she says simply. The merchant's eyes grow wider still. He looks at the thriving village. He looks at you, sitting peacefully in a patch of sunlight, with your goat wife resting her head on your knee. He looks at your strange, humming hat, and the way the villagers seem to regard you with a quiet, unshakable reverence. He asks questions. The villagers, with a simple, honest pride, tell him the story. They tell him of the ancient prophecy. They tell him of the arrival of the stranger with the humming hat and the sacred root. They tell him of the holy union between you and Princess Buttercup, the sacred marriage that has brought them into balance with the heavens and protected them from the creeping sickness. The merchant listens, his jaw slack with awe. He does not see a series of bizarre, fortunate accidents. He sees a grand, divine narrative. He sees a holy man whose profound humility led him to take a goat as his bride, an act of such piety that it shielded an entire village from a plague. He looks at you, the man quietly scratching a goat behind the ears, and he sees a saint. He stays for the afternoon, resting in the shade, and when he leaves, his eyes are filled with a new and fervent light. He carries with him not just a full water skin and a loaf of bread, but a story, a wonderful, impossible story. The story, once it left the valley, grew wings of its own. It soared on the currents of gossip and desperation, transforming from a simple tale of a lucky village into a grand epic of divine intervention. In a tavern in the next town, the merchant tells of a man whose touch could make withered plants grow. By the time the story reaches the next market town, you are a man who can command the rain and speak the language of animals. The story of the sacred goat marriage, at first a strange and confusing detail, becomes the heart of the legend, an act of ultimate sacrifice, and humility. The blessed radish is forgotten, replaced by your own inherent, miraculous power. And so, the pilgrims begin to arrive. At first it is just a trickle, a single desperate family from a blighted farm, their faces etched with worry. They carry their small, sick child, hoping for a blessing. They approach you with a fearful reverence, their eyes wide. They ask you to touch the child. You do not know what to do. You are not a healer. You are just a man. But you cannot refuse the hope in their eyes. You gently place your hand on the child's forehead. Your hat gives a soft, warm hum. The child, who had been feverish and restless, quiets under your touch and falls into a peaceful sleep. The parents weep with gratitude, convinced they have witnessed a miracle. They leave a single hand-carved wooden goat at your feet as an offering. The next day, more arrive. An old soldier with a leg that has pained him for 20 years, hoping for relief. A young woman carrying a withered apple sapling, the last of her family's orchard, hoping you can bring it back to life. A scholar, his books filled with accounts of the blight, comes to document a miracle with his own eyes. They do not see a man who is bewildered by their faith. They see what they need to see. They see a holy figure, a man whose simple, quiet life among the goats is not a matter of circumstance, but a profound spiritual choice. Your humility, which is actually just a deep and abiding sense of confusion, is seen as the ultimate proof of your sainthood. They begin to call you the Goat Saint, Saint Gregory of the Blessed Radish and Holy Goat. The name, whispered from pilgrim to pilgrim, sticks. They kneel before you. They ask for your blessing. They touch the hem of your robe as if it were a sacred relic. They bring offerings, small, pathetic things that are all they have left to give. A single perfect egg, a bundle of dried herbs, a polished river stone. They offer them not to you, but to your wife, Princess Buttercup, who they see as a holy consort, a divine queen. She accepts their gifts with a serene, queenly grace, occasionally nibbling on a flower or a particularly interesting-looking leaf. You have become a living shrine, a reluctant source of hope in a world consumed by fear. The quiet, peaceful rhythm of your life is beginning to fracture, replaced by the constant low murmur of prayer and the weight of 1,000 desperate hopes. You are no longer just a husband. You are a saint, and you have a terrible, sinking feeling that your napping schedule is about to be ruined. Your quiet life is over. The gentle, predictable rhythm of your days, a rhythm that had become as comforting and familiar as your own heartbeat, is shattered. The peaceful, goat-centric world you had come to love has been transformed. The goat village is no longer just a village. It has become a shrine, a holy site, a destination. The single muddy path that leads into the valley is now a well-trodden road, widened and flattened by the constant stream of weary, hopeful feet. Your life is no longer your own. You are a tourist attraction for the pious. The change did not happen overnight. It was a slow, creeping tide of humanity. It began with a single family and their sick child, then the old soldier with the aching knee. Their stories of healing, magnified by desperation and the natural human love for a good miracle, spread like wildfire through the blighted lands. Now, every morning, you wake not to the soft bleating of goats and the smell of baking bread, but to a low, constant murmur that hangs over the valley like a mist. It is the sound of prayer, of whispered hopes, of shuffling feet. When you open the door of your small cottage, you are greeted by a long, winding line of people that snakes through the village square, past the well, and disappears over the crest of the hill. They are the pilgrims, and they are all waiting for you. Your new morning routine is a strange and tiring ritual. You eat a hurried breakfast of bread and cheese while Princess Buttercup looks on with sympathetic amber eyes. Then you take your place on the porch of your cottage, which has been unofficially designated as the Blessing Stoop. The villagers have placed a comfortable, hand-carved chair there for you, and a small stool for your feet. It is a throne of humble, overwhelming expectation. You sit, your hat giving a low, weary hum, and you prepare for the day. The pilgrims approach one by one, their faces a heartbreaking tapestry of human suffering and desperate hope. They are farmers whose fields are barren, mothers with sick children, old men whose bones ache with the damp of 100 winters. They see you, and their eyes light up with a fervent, unquestioning faith. They see a saint. You see a man who misses his afternoon naps, a man with hands as rough as bark and a face etched with worry kneels before you. He holds up a small wilting turnip. "Holy One," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "This is the last of my crop. The blight has taken all the rest. I beg you, bless it, so that my family might have something to plant when the rains return." You look at the sad little vegetable. You remember Gregory, your own turnip companion from another lifetime, and you feel a pang of sympathy. You do not know how to bless a turnip, so you do what you always do. You reach out, your hand trembling slightly, and you pat it. A gentle, awkward pat. "There, there," you whisper to the turnip. "It will be all right." The man's face breaks into a radiant smile. He weeps with gratitude, clutching the turnip to his chest as if it were a solid gold ingot. He thanks you, bows deeply, and backs away, his faith reaffirmed. From your pocket, Bartholomew the Spoon offers his cynical commentary. "A pat," he whispers, his voice dripping with tiny wooden sarcasm. "You healed it with a pat. Your power is truly terrifying. Next, you'll be curing warts with a stern look." You gently tell him to be quiet. The line shuffles forward. A young woman with frightened eyes asks you to bless her cow, which has stopped giving milk. You do not have a blessing for a cow. You tell her, in a soft voice, to make sure the cow has fresh water and a nice patch of clover to lie in. She looks at you, her expression shifting from fear to awe. "Of course," she whispers, "sacred clover. The wisdom of the saint is profound." She rushes off, convinced she has received a divine revelation about bovine nutrition. Your life becomes a performance of gentle, meaningless gestures. You pat things, you nod solemnly, you smile a tired, gentle smile. You have developed a specific blessing for every occasion. For sick animals, a soft scratch behind the ears. For failing crops, a thoughtful look at the sky followed by a non-committal hum. For aching joints, a light touch on the shoulder. It is all a placebo, a theater of hope, and you are its unwilling star. The weight of their belief is exhausting. It is heavier than any sack of rocks, heavier than any royal decree. They bring gifts not just for you, but for your holy consort, Princess Buttercup. She has become a deity in her own right. She spends her days on a large pile of silk cushions next to your blessing stoop, accepting offerings with a serene, queenly grace. Pilgrims lay flowers at her hooves. They give her garlands of cheese and honey-drizzled apples. A young boy presents her with a single, perfect dandelion, which she eats with a delicate appreciation. Being worshipped is not so different from being spoiled, and she is very good at being spoiled. Her calm, steady presence is a comfort to you, a quiet anchor in the swirling sea of human need. One afternoon, you try to set the record straight. You see a small group of pilgrims resting in the shade of the apple tree, their faces alight with stories of your miracles. You gather your courage. You walk over to them, your heart pounding a nervous rhythm against your ribs. "Please," you say, your voice soft and earnest. "You must understand, I am not a saint." They fall silent, their eyes fixed on you. "I am just a man," you continue, "a very confused man. The reason this village is safe, the reason the water is pure, it was a radish, a very special, blessed radish that I planted by the well. It is the radish that is the miracle, not me." You finish, your confession hanging in the still afternoon air. The pilgrims look at each other. Their expressions are not of disappointment or disillusionment. They are of even deeper, more profound awe. "Did you hear that?" one whispers to another, her voice filled with wonder. "He is so humble, so pure of heart. He gives the credit for his divine power to a simple vegetable from the earth. He is truly one with the soil, one with the people." Another nods, tears welling in his eyes. "He seeks no glory for himself. He is a true servant of the divine." Your attempt to tell the truth has backfired spectacularly. Your honesty has been misinterpreted as the ultimate proof of your humility. You have not lessened their faith. You have cemented it in stone. You sigh, a long, defeated sound. You cannot win. You walk back to your porch, the weight of your accidental sainthood heavier than ever. The days blur into a monotonous cycle of blessings and pats. Your quiet life of napping and attending goat council meetings is a distant, cherished memory. You are tired. You are a living relic, a symbol, a story. You are the goat saint of the radish. And as you sit on your porch watching another long line of hopeful faces shuffle towards you, you close your eyes and dream of a quiet ditch somewhere, a place where no one knows your name, and the only thing anyone ever asks of you is to please move your foot as you are sleeping on their prize-winning turnip. The village, once a quiet, pastoral haven, now hums with the constant low thrum of humanity. The peaceful rhythm of your days, once measured by the sun and the bleating of your beloved goat wife, is irrevocably altered. You are no longer just the goat consort. You are a living saint, a reluctant spiritual leader, and, in truth, a very tired man. The lines of pilgrims stretched across the valley have become a permanent feature of the landscape, a testament to the desperate hope that permeates the blighted lands. The stories of your miracles, exaggerated and embellished with each retelling, have reached the ears of those in power. And so, one crisp autumn morning, a new figure arrives in the goat village. He is a bishop, a man whose presence is as imposing and unyielding as the stone walls of a cathedral. He comes with a retinue of scribes, their quills poised to document every detail. Theologians, their faces grim with scholastic purpose, and guards, their armor gleaming with an authority you haven't seen since you accidentally insulted a king. He is a man of rules, doctrine, and very expensive, very pointy hats. He has come to investigate. The bishop, whose name you learn is Alaric, does not believe in local superstitions or the fervent faith of the unwashed masses. He is a rational man, a man of God, yes, but also a man of order. He fully expects to debunk the rumors, to expose the miracle as nothing more than a peasant delusion, or perhaps a clever fraud. He is particularly intrigued and profoundly disturbed by the report of a man marrying a goat. This, he muses aloud to his scribes, has no precedent in any holy text, no mention in any hallowed doctrine. The concept of a sacred union between a man and a goat is, to put it mildly, doctrinally problematic. He eyes Princess Buttercup with a look that combines suspicion and a faint, almost scientific curiosity. He begins his investigation with the methodical precision of a seasoned inquisitor. He questions the villagers one by one. He listens to their fervent, heartfelt accounts of the blight, of the suffering, and of the untouched prosperity of the goat village. He hears tales of your gentle touch healing fevers, of your quiet words making withered crops bloom, of your very presence bringing solace to despairing souls. He records their testimonies with a meticulous hand, though his expression remains skeptical. Then he turns his attention to the physical evidence. He inspects the healthy fields, running his hand through the lush, green corn that stands tall and proud, a stark contrast to the black, brittle stalks he has seen on his journey. He examines the thriving apple trees, heavy with ripe red fruit. He observes the healthy, plump goats, their coats shining, their milk rich and sweet. He walks to the village well. He draws water and tastes it. It is clear, it is sweet, and he cannot deny it. It glows faintly at dawn, just as the villagers claim. He runs his fingers through the soil around the well, finding it rich and fertile. There is an undeniable vibrancy here. He spends days in prayer and contemplation, sequestered in a small, temporary tent erected in the village square. His scribes work tirelessly, transcribing every account. His theologians debate the implications of a goat marriage-based miracle, their voices rising in heated theological arguments that sound suspiciously like arguing over whether a particularly dense cheese is truly divine. You hear them using words like heterodoxy, blasphemy by proxy, and the troubling implications of excessive pastoral affection. He interviews you. He sits across from you in your humble cottage, his face grave, his pointy hat casting a long shadow. He asks you about your journey, about the radish, about the nature of your union with Princess Buttercup. You tell him the simple, honest truth. You explain about waking up in a ditch, about the strange coin, about the talking spoon. You tell him about the somnolent brotherhood, the jester incident, the sad trees, and the accidental planting of the blessed radish. You explain that it was the radish, not you, that purified the water. You even tell him about the goat council meetings. He listens intently, his expression unreadable. He interviews Princess Buttercup. He stands before her, a majestic figure of ecclesiastical authority. He asks her profound questions about her role in the prophecy, about the nature of her divine bond with you, about the mysteries of the sky goat. Princess Buttercup, in turn, responds with a series of thoughtful, non-committal bleats, punctuated by a gentle headbutt when the bishop gets too close to her favorite patch of hay. She offers him a small, polite nibble of his parchment. The bishop, for his part, looks increasingly bewildered. Finally, after days of intense investigation, theological debate, and profound personal confusion, Bishop Alaric makes a decision. He gathers the entire village and all the gathered pilgrims in the square. The air is thick with anticipation. The soft morning light illuminates his weary but determined face. He clears his throat. "My children," he begins, his voice resonating with ancient authority. "I have investigated these claims with the utmost diligence. I have consulted the scriptures. I have communed with the divine." He pauses, his gaze sweeping over the crowd, lingering for a moment on Princess Buttercup, who is quietly grooming her beard. "And while the circumstances of this situation are, shall we say, unusual, indeed unprecedented in the annals of Holy Writ. The evidence before me is undeniable. He points to the healthy fields. He gestures to the thriving goats. He gestures to you, standing awkwardly beside Princess Buttercup. The hand of the divine, he declares, his voice rising to a booming crescendo, is clearly at work in this valley. This village has been blessed, and this humble servant, he gestures at you, this man, who has taken a goat for his bride as an act of profound and mysterious devotion, is indeed an instrument of the Almighty. He takes a deep breath, and then, with the full authority vested in him by centuries of ecclesiastical tradition, he makes his pronouncement. Therefore, by the power vested in me, I declare this man, this humble, blessed shepherd of souls, a living saint. I name him Saint Gregory of the Blessed Radish and Holy Goat. He produces a hastily made halo of woven straw and radish leaves and places it carefully on your head. It is surprisingly itchy. The crowd weeps with joy. They cheer. They fall to their knees, some shouting your new name, others simply sobbing with overwhelming relief. You look terrified. Your goat wife looks proud, her amber eyes shining with quiet triumph. It is official. You are a saint. A highly questionable, highly unconventional, but absolutely official, bishop-approved saint. You sigh. The weight of sainthood is heavier than any tax burden you ever accidentally collected. Fame does not suit you. Sainthood, it turns out, is a surprisingly heavy burden. The halo of straw and radish leaves, though light, feels as heavy as a lead helmet. It is surprisingly itchy. The endless requests for blessings, for miracles, for cures for sick chickens, are utterly exhausting. You miss the quiet simplicity of being a man married to a goat. You miss the days when your biggest responsibility was attending the goat council meetings and finding the optimal sunbeam for an afternoon nap. Your peaceful existence, once a gentle melody, has become a cacophony of adoration and demands. The goat village, once a tranquil haven, now hums with the constant drone of devotion. Pilgrims arrive day and night, their faces filled with desperate hope, their voices raised in hymns to you. There are always eyes on you, always hands reaching out to touch your robe, always prayers whispered in your direction. You cannot walk from your cottage to the well without causing a stir. You cannot simply sit and contemplate a particularly fascinating cloud without someone interpreting it as a divine message. Every sigh is a prophecy, every yawn a blessing. You are a living relic, a symbol, a story. But you are tired of being a story. You long for the quiet anonymity of being just a man. You miss your naps. Oh, how you miss your naps. The perfect, undisturbed naps in a patch of clover, with Princess Buttercup's warm, soft side against yours. Now, every attempt at slumber is punctuated by the soft murmur of pilgrims outside your window, the occasional desperate knock, or the sudden burst of a new, heartfelt hymn sung in your honor. Even your hat seems weary, its hum a low, tired drone, like a distant, overworked bee. Bartholomew the spoon, ever the cynic, whispers of escape routes and disguises, but even his advice sounds more desperate than usual. You spend your days enduring the adoration with a polite, bewildered smile. You nod, you pat, you offer comforting, non-committal hums. You accept the offerings, mostly turnips, and place them carefully on the altar, hoping the pilgrims find meaning in the gesture. You miss your quiet, simple life. You need to be just a man again. You need a nap. A proper, uninterrupted nap. You go to Princess Buttercup. She is sleeping soundly in her silk-lined bed, a picture of perfect peace. You stroke her fluffy white coat. You lean close and whisper to her, not with words, but with a language of gestures and soft sounds that only she can understand. You scratch her behind the ears in a way that means, I must go, but I will always love you. You nuzzle her soft fur in a way that means, forgive me, my dear, I am just too tired for sainthood. She stirs, stretches, and then slowly, deliberately, she licks your hand in farewell. A single warm tear, perfectly clear and round, rolls down her furry cheek. She understands. She is wise, after all. You pack a small bag of hay for old time's sake, a comforting scent that reminds you of simpler days. You quietly slip out of the cottage, your footsteps making no sound on the soft earth. Your buzzing hat is already on your head, humming a low, conspiratorial tune. Your whispering spoon, Bartholomew, is tucked securely into your pocket, unusually silent, as if it, too, understands the gravity of this quiet rebellion. You carry nothing else. You need nothing else. You leave behind a thriving village, a beautiful legend, and your own unwanted holiness. As you crest the last hill, you look back. The goat village, usually a beacon of light, is shrouded in a gentle mist, its myriad candles and torches twinkling like distant stars. In the village square, illuminated by the soft, constant glow from the well, you can just make out a small group of your most devoted followers. They are lovingly polishing the statue they have erected in your honor. It depicts you holding a goat in one arm and a radish in the other, a serene smile on your face. It is a good statue. It is just not you. You sigh, a soft, weary sigh. You do not look back again. You wander into the mist, a humble, anonymous figure once more. The road before you is dark, but it is also free. You are not seeking adventure or glory or another kingdom to rule. You are looking for your next nap, a quiet ditch somewhere, a peaceful haystack, where no one will ask you to bless their kneecaps or interpret the wisdom of a cloud or officiate a bizarre interspecies wedding. You are, and will always be, a humble traveler in a world that insists on making you a hero. And so our strange, sleepy journey ends. May your dreams be as gentle and absurd as a goat wedding, and may you always find peace even in the most unexpected of places. Good night. You leave the tavern of the discerning goats behind. The road does not call to you anymore. Instead, a quiet path invites you, a path made of moss and forgotten whispers. You follow it because you have nowhere else to be, and because it seems polite. Gregory, your turnip, hums a soft, low note from your pocket, a note of contentment, of a journey nearing its rest. Your hat, which has been a king, a prophet, and a dinner guest, droops slightly. It is tired too. It has hummed all the songs it knows for now. The path leads you into a clearing. You have seen many clearings on this journey. Clearings for duels, clearings for trials by squirrel, clearings for pie festivals that were secretly gateways to underground kingdoms. But this one is different. It is quiet. Not an empty quiet, a full quiet. The kind of quiet that holds its breath, waiting for you. In the center of the grove stands a single ancient tree. Its bark is the color of moonlight. Its leaves are silver and they do not rustle. They shimmer. At the base of the tree is a smooth gray stone shaped like a heart. It glows with a faint, gentle warmth. You feel drawn to it. A sign carved into the wood of the tree reads, "Touch the stone if the story brought you warmth. A little light helps the grove grow." You think of your journey, the taste of the wrong mushrooms, the surprising softness of the tavern floor, the dignity of the dueling farmer, the quiet wisdom of the goat who stared into your soul, the impossible fluffiness of the king's omelet. You smile, a small, tired smile. Yes, the story brought you warmth. You reach out, you place your hand on the heart-shaped stone. It is not hot, it is not cold. It feels like a thank you. As you touch it, a soft pulse of light flows from your hand into the stone. The stone glows a little brighter. A single silver leaf on the tree shimmers with a new light. The air in the grove feels a little warmer, a little more welcoming. You feel a gentle connection to this place, a sense that your small gesture of appreciation has made a difference, that by sharing a little warmth, you have helped this quiet, magical place thrive. You pull your hand away. The stone continues to glow with the light you gave it, a silent testament to the shared moment. You understand now. This is a place where appreciation becomes light, where a simple, quiet gesture of liking something can make the world a little brighter for everyone who comes after. A little further into the grove, you see a small, clear pond. The water is perfectly still, like a dark mirror. Around its edge are dozens of smooth, flat stones. They look like they have been worn down by time and gentle hands. These are the whispering stones. Another sign. This one, leaning against a mossy log, explains. Leave a whisper of where you came from, so the grove may know its friends. You pick up a stone. It is cool in your hand. You think about where you came from. You don't remember the tavern's name, or the village before that, or the life you had before you woke up without your pants. But you remember the journey. You remember the feelings, the confusion, the accidental glory, the taste of the onion you won in a duel. So you lean close to the stone. You don't speak aloud. You think your words into it. You whisper a memory of the Pie Kingdom. You tell it about the goat who sneezed on the bishop. You mention the squirrel jury and how you almost lost the case. You tell it where you are right now, in this moment, listening from a world away, in a quiet room, ready for sleep. As you think your thoughts, the stone absorbs them. It becomes a vessel for your small story, a piece of your journey, left behind for others to feel. You place the stone back by the edge of the pond. It settles among the others, each one a silent testament to a fellow traveler, a quiet chorus of hellos from around the world, a community built on shared whispers. You feel less alone, knowing that others have stood here in this same quiet place and left a comment, piece of themselves behind. You wonder what stories the other stones hold. You smile at the thought of all the sleepy travelers who have passed through. Your feet carry you to the deepest part of the grove. Here, there is a small silver bell hanging from a low branch of the ancient tree. It does not sway. It does not make a sound. It simply waits. The sign beside it is the simplest of all. Ring the bell if you wish to be called back when when the next story is ready to be told. This is the bell of returning. It does not demand, it invites. It is a promise of more journeys, more quiet adventures, more chances to get lost in the most wonderful, gentle way. You think about it. Do you want to be called back? To another village of strange rules and even stranger food? To another trial by animals who take their jobs very seriously? To another nap in a haystack that feels like the safest place in the world? Yes. Yes, you do. You reach out and gently touch the bell. It does not ring with a loud clang. It lets out a soft, low chime, a sound like a single drop of water falling into a still pond. The sound ripples through the air, through the trees, through you. It feels like a subscription, a quiet agreement between you and the grove. You have subscribed to the stories. You have asked to be notified, and the grove has heard you. It will remember you, and when the time is right, it will send a whisper on the wind to call you back. You will not miss the next dream. Now, you are truly tired. The journey has been long. The trials have been many. The naps have been few. You see one last wonder in the grove, a small pool of water, shimmering not with light, but with images, the pool of endless stories. You lean over it. You do not see your reflection. You see other worlds, other adventures. You see a glimpse of a story about a lighthouse keeper who guides ships with a magical glowing turnip. You see a story about a quiet librarian who discovers that the books in her library rearrange themselves at night to tell new tales. You see a story about a baker whose bread is so sad it makes people cry with empathy, and how he learns to bake with joy. You see stories of pirates who are afraid of the ocean, of ghosts who are afraid of the dark, of kings who just want to learn how to knit. You see a whole channel of quiet, gentle adventures waiting for you, waiting on the other side of this dream. You understand that this journey is just one of many, that there are more videos, more chapters, more sleepy tales to explore whenever you feel the need to escape. The pool shows you a path forward, a playlist of peace. You have done all you can do in the grove. You have left your light. You have shared your whisper. You have rung the bell. You have seen the promise of more stories to come. Now, there is only one thing left to do: rest. You find a patch of moss beneath the ancient, shimmering tree. It is softer than any bed you have ever known. You lie down. Gregory the turnip settles onto your chest, pulsing with a slow, sleepy rhythm. Your hat slides down over your eyes, a final, gentle goodnight. The air in the grove is cool and smells of silver leaves and contentment. The light from the heart-shaped stone casts a warm, gentle glow. The whispers from the stones by the pond murmur a soft chorus of hellos.